There is a moment, and maybe you already know this moment, where you realize the person you trusted most in the world has been quietly working against you. Not with loud arguments, not with obvious betrayal, but with silence, with small choices, with things left unsaid for so long that by the time you finally see what happened, years have already been stolen from you. That is what this story is about. Two brothers, one silent betrayal, and a destruction so complete that neither of them ever fully recovered, not until one of them made a decision that changed everything. Stay with me, because what I am about to share is going to feel uncomfortably familiar, and that familiarity is going to be the thing that finally helps you understand why certain relationships in your life feel so heavy, so draining, so quietly devastating. Before I go deeper, I need you to know that if you are the kind of person who feels like you have been carrying something you cannot even explain, something in a relationship that just feels off but you cannot put your finger on exactly what, then there is a program linked in the description below this video that was built specifically for people in that exact place. Not everyone is ready for it. Honestly, most people who find it are not in a space where they can truly use it yet. But if something in you is already saying this matters to me, pay attention to that feeling. Now, let me tell you about these two brothers. They grew up in the same house, slept in the same room for years, shared the same table, the same memories, the same parents. From the outside, they looked like a team. People in their lives always said things like those two are inseparable. And for a long time that was true, but underneath the surface, something else was growing. One brother was quietly, consistently, and visibly making choices that protected himself at the expense of the other. Not in dramatic ways, not in ways that could be easily pointed to and called out, but in small, slow, deliberate ways that accumulated over years into something catastrophic. Here is what that actually looked like. When something went wrong in their family, one brother would let the other take the blame, not by lying outright but by staying silent when the truth would have helped. That silence felt like nothing in the moment. It felt like a minor omission, but that silence was a choice, and it was made over and over again. When opportunities appeared, and they did appear, one brother would hear about them first, position himself, and then share only enough information to make the other feel included without actually giving him real access. Not a lie, just a carefully controlled truth. And the other brother trusted completely because this was his brother. This was the person who had shared his childhood, his pain, his history. Why would he question that? That trust was exactly what made it possible. See, silent betrayal does not announce itself. It does not come wearing a sign. It wraps itself in familiarity. It hides inside the assumption of loyalty. It thrives in the space where love makes you lower your guard completely. And here is the part that is going to hit you if you have ever been in a relationship, any kind of relationship, where love or loyalty or history made you stop paying attention to the signs. You do not see it happening. You feel something is wrong. You feel it in your body. There is this low hum of unease that you cannot trace back to any single conversation, any single event, any single moment. And because you cannot point to one clear thing, you dismiss it. You tell yourself you are being paranoid. You tell yourself this is your person. This is your family. This is the one relationship that is supposed to be safe. And while you are busy convincing yourself everything is fine, the silent betrayal continues. Years went by, and the brother who was being quietly betrayed watched his own life develop differently than it should have. Doors that should have opened did not open. Relationships that could have been built were not built. Resources that should have been shared were quietly redirected, and he could not understand why. He worked just as hard, he cared just as deeply, he was just as loyal. What he did not know was that the invisible hand shaping his outcomes belonged to the person he trusted most. When it finally came out, and these things always eventually come out, it did not come out in some dramatic confrontation. It came out quietly, the way it had always operated. A single piece of information, a conversation that happened where it should not have happened, a trail that suddenly made every confusing moment from the past make sense. And that moment of understanding was one of the most painful experiences a human being can go through. Because it is not just the betrayal, it is the rewriting of your entire history. Every memory you had that felt warm and safe suddenly becomes evidence of something else. Every time you defended this person, every time you chose them over someone else, every time you gave them access to your most vulnerable self, all of it transforms in an instant into something that makes you feel profoundly foolish and profoundly broken at the same time. Research consistently shows that betrayal by someone close causes a specific kind of psychological wound that is fundamentally different from other forms of pain. It disrupts your ability to trust your own perception. It makes you question your judgment. It creates patterns, real documented patterns, where people who experience close betrayal often spend years, sometimes decades, unable to form the kind of deep trust that makes life genuinely meaningful. The brother who was betrayed lost more than a relationship. He lost his confidence in his own ability to read people. He started pulling back from opportunities because he could not trust his own assessment of who was safe and who was not. He made smaller decisions. He lived a smaller life. Not because he was less capable. He was never less capable, but because the cost of being wrong again felt too catastrophic to risk. That is what silent betrayal actually steals from you. Not just the relationship, not just the years. It steals your willingness to fully engage with your own life. And the brother who did the betraying? He did not escape either. This is the part people do not talk about enough. When you build your life on the quiet manipulation of someone who trusts you completely, you also trap yourself. You can never fully relax. You can never be fully known. You carry the weight of what you have done without ever being able to put it down because you never admitted it, never processed it, never made it right. You become someone who knows somewhere underneath everything that the closeness people feel with you is built on something hollow. That is its own kind of prison. Both brothers, in completely different ways, were destroyed by the same silence. Now here is where this gets personal for you. If you are watching this, and something in you is recognizing a pattern, not necessarily between brothers, but in any close relationship, a parent, a partner, a friend, a colleague, then you are not imagining things. The discomfort you feel when you try to explain why something feels wrong even though nothing obvious has happened is not you being dramatic. It is not you being paranoid. It is your nervous system accurately detecting something your conscious mind has not been allowed to fully see yet. People who have spent years working through exactly this kind of relational damage consistently report the same thing. They say the single most valuable thing they ever did was stop waiting for obvious proof and start trusting the signal that something was not right. Not to act rashly, not to burn everything down, but to stop dismissing the information their body was already giving them. The recovery that becomes possible when you finally allow yourself to see clearly, when you stop protecting someone else's image at the expense of your own understanding, is genuinely remarkable. People describe feeling lighter than they have felt in years. They describe making decisions with a confidence they had forgotten they were capable of. They describe relationships that feel genuinely safe in ways they did not know relationships could feel safe. That transformation does not happen by accident. It does not happen just because time passes. Time passing without understanding does not heal this kind of wound. It just makes the wound older. What actually creates that transformation is a specific process, a way of looking at what happened, understanding how it works, recognizing the patterns, and then systematically rebuilding the parts of yourself that silent betrayal quietly dismantles. That process is exactly what we have built into the program you will find linked in the description below this video. Most people who come across something like this tell themselves they will come back to it later. They tell themselves they are not quite ready yet. They tell themselves maybe next week, maybe next month when things settle down a little, and then they spend another year carrying exactly what they are carrying right now, except heavier. Because this kind of weight does not stay the same weight over time. It accumulates, it compounds, it costs you things quietly in the background that you do not even realize you are losing until you look back and wonder why your life looks the way it does. The brother who finally chose to do the work, to actually understand what happened, to stop dismissing his own experience, to build something new from a foundation that was actually real, described it as the first time in years he felt like himself again. Not a wounded version of himself, not a guarded version, himself. That is available to you. Not to everyone who stumbles across this video, not to people who are still convinced that if they just wait long enough things will naturally get better, but to the person who already feels, somewhere beneath the confusion and the hurt, that they deserve to understand what actually happened to them and to build something genuinely different going forward. If that is you, do not wait. The moment you feel something shift, when something in this resonates and your instinct says this is for me, that is the moment to move. Not tomorrow, not after you think about it for another week. That instinct is the same instinct that got buried under years of dismissing your own experience. Start listening to it now. The link is waiting for you in the description. And so, honestly, is the version of yourself that has been waiting to come back.